right, today we're going to do properties of parallel lines with the transversal, and you're going to be continuing that red notes that you had before. You're going to open it up. I've got a little note here, and it looks like this. Here it is. This is what I drew, and I had color on mine. And we put words in between them without opening them up. Keep them closed. We're going to review them. That's the first thing we're going to do, is we're going to review them first. So if I have these two angles, what kind of angles are those? They're vertical. Very good. And what about the one below it?
Seems corresponding. No, yeah, corresponding.
This is the top right and the top right on top and bottom, so they're corresponding. Let me show you. All right, what about this one? What kind of angles are these?
Opposite interior.
Not quite opposite, but it's alternate. But that's the same. That's the idea. What about this one up here? Oops, the one at the top.
Adjacent.
Yes. With the middle one? Alternate exterior. Okay. And the last ones?
Isn't that the same side?
Go ahead.
Interior?
They are same side interior. All right. Now, we had some stuff on the inside. We opened them up, and we wrote these on the inside, right? Okay. Now we're going to figure out what relationships do they have with each other. And as we do that, we're going to do that by looking at our theorems that you have on either in your postulate book, or you have them in your on your postulate page. Okay, so those you can get those note pages out if you want to use those, or you can open up your postulate book that you've written them in. Just a second. Let's do this instead. Just use these. Okay. Just use that. Okay.
Wait. Is that?
Okay, vertical angles. Before we start, and there's like this imaginary. If you want to put a box, or if you want to put line down the middle and across like that, we're going to put something in each of the pieces. Okay, as we go down. If you want to like make lines on there, there's a line in the fold there. You can, but you don't have to. But you can. You already know a relationship with the vertical angles. What do we know about vertical angles? They're opposite of each other, that's correct, and they're congruent to each other. So I'm going to put a little congruent symbol in there. Okay, vertical angles are congruent. We know that. Okay? Feel free to use color. Feel free to do anything you want. Pencil's fine. What else do you know in there without looking at any of those postulates? These adjacent ones are specific. If you look on the outside, these adjacent ones are linear pairs, right? So they're not only adjacent, they're linear pairs. What do you know about linear pairs?
Equal 180.
They equal 180, or they're supplementary. So we can put the word sup, or you could put the word equal, the symbol equal 180 degrees, okay? So I need you now to get to your, get to the theorem, or the postulate in this case. It's the only postulate that you have with the parallel lines. I need you to tell me what the relationship. So I need someone to read it out loud to me.
If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of corresponding angles are congruent.
Okay, so what do we want to put in that box right there underneath the corresponding? They're congruent. Okay, so we're going to put congruent. So Nariah read that one. Let's move over. Amy, will you read the one about alternate exterior angles, please?
Wait. I'm in the wrong page.
Number 13.
Okay. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of alternate exterior angles are congruent.
alternate interior or alternate exterior?
That's the alternate exterior.
So they're congruent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, are these the same page?
What?
Yeah, these are the same page.
Yes.
So just print it off too.
Well, kind of. You'll see why in a minute. I'll tell you in a minute.
Oh,
You
yeah,
some
yeah.
extra. You have an extra one, Amy, that everybody else doesn't have. See, this one doesn't have blanks, and this one has blanks. Okay, you have the answers. Your mom printed out the answers for you. That's not a problem. All right.
Okay.
All right. So, Heidi, when we move
Yeah.
across, can you go to alternate interior for me? Alternate interior.
If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of alternate interior angles are congruent.
Congruent. All right. We'll scoot over. Josie, will you find the same side interior one, and will you read that to us?
If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the two pairs of same side interior angles are
Supplementary. So what are we going to write in that box?
Supplementary.
You can write the word you can write the whole word supplementary. It'll fit. Mine wouldn't because my marker. But I'm going to write equals 180 degrees. All right. We're now going to use this. All these. There's only two that are supplementary, right? Two that are supplementary. Here we go. Now we're going to use those to do some examples. All right. We already did number 2. We're going to go back to number 1. We're going to mark our parallel lines. You had some parallel lines drawn up here. You have some drawn up there. And I want to show you, just like when we've been doing these angles here are corresponding, so they're congruent. We have marks to write on it. We also have marks to show that lines are parallel. And that is putting some arrows on them. So if I put an arrow on this one and an arrow that's the same number of arrows on that one, that means they're parallel to each other. I'm not talking about the arrows on the ends. I'm talking about arrows in the middle. You can also put 2 of them on there if you had a confusion on which ones were. Obviously, the transversal's not, but if I had another line that was coming like this, I could put 1 with it to indicate the 2 upward facing or positive slopes are parallel, and then the 2 horizontals are parallel. Notice there's 2 on the horizontals and then 1 on the diagonals, indicating that they are parallel to each other. You are going to be marking them or looking at them and writing if they're marked on your homework. Yes, ma'am.
Does it matter which way the arrow is going?
It does not matter which way the arrow is going. Traditionally, I think I've seen them going that direction, though. But if you wanted to draw them like going like that would not be a problem. Is that what you're asking, correct?
Yeah. Does it matter what side of the transversal line they're on?
Very good question. Also, it does not. What does matter is how many you do. So when I had my transversal, when I had 1 on that one, I can't just put 1 on that one, because that would be telling everyone that those 3 lines are parallel. You're going to have to do something different to indicate that they're parallel to each other, okay? All right, good questions. Any others?
She asked all of mine.
Good. All right, here we go. So what you're going to have to do is decide what kind of angles are they? Are they same side? Are they alternate interior? Are they corresponding? And then look to see what relationship they have. I want you to get your assignment out. Number 5 and 7 we're going to do together. We're going to do number 5 and 7 together. That way some of your assignment's already done for you. I have the instructions for number 7 up there, but the instructions for number 5 are a little different. So Brett, you will be reading the instructions for number 5 first when you get that out. Okay?
Which one is it?
It's 3.3. All right, can you read the instructions for number 5 for us?
Construct a line segment. Oh wait, this is 3.5.
Yes, 3. You're almost there. Just come, maybe. No. There we go. Number 5.
Okay.
Right here, the instructions. Find the
Find the measure of each angle indicated.
Okay, so number 5, what kind of angles are those? Are those alternate interior, those corresponding, alternate exterior, same side interior? What are those? Same side interior. So look in your red piece, your red chart that you just made. Same side interior. Are those supplementary? Are those equal? That was the 2 options. Are they congruent?
Supplementary.
They're supplementary. All right, so 46 is supplementary with what? And how would I be able to show some work to be able to do that?
minus 46.
180 minus 46. That would be fantastic. 130 what?
4.
134 degrees. All right.
I definitely aren't congruent.
They're not congruent. One is acute and one's obtuse.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can kind of see that they wouldn't naturally be congruent. All right. For those of you who need more information on that right there, because when you get back to your house, you're going to go, how in the world would I know that that's 180 when I get to my house? You could write the words same side interior on there. That would help you to maybe remember it when you get home, how to do the problem, okay? Or watch this video, okay? All right. Now we need to do number 7. Number 7, I have the instructions at the top. It says, find the measure of the angle indicated in bold. So which one's bold? Is it the 10x plus 20 or the 12x minus 2? Which one's bold?
12x minus
Okay, so it wants us to find the angle measure of that angle. So first we have to find what x is, and then we're going to plug it back in and find that angle. So I need you to tell me, are those 2 angles, are those corresponding, alternate exterior, alternate exterior. So you guys look in here, if you want to open them up or look at them, are alternate exterior congruent or supplementary? They're congruent. All right, so if they're congruent, we're going to make an equation. We're going to say that 10x plus 20 equals 12x minus 2. We're going to solve that equation. I'm going to move the 2 to the other side. Some of you are already doing it. That's fantastic. At 10x to the other side. We're going to get 22 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And x is 11. But I'm not done. If you remember, we're supposed to find the measure of the bold one right there. So we have to plug that 11 back in to 12 times 11 minus 2. 12 times 11 is 132. Minus 2 is 130. That is our answer. So remember, be careful that you're finding more than just x. All right, now we have these marking parallel lines. And on this side over here, we have some red arrows that indicate that those are parallel. So we're going to write that those are parallel. And this is line B and A. So B is parallel to A. We have a shorthand notation. We have parallel lines. Make sure that they don't look like 11s, okay? Make sure they don't look like 11s. These are parallel lines. You can make them a little slanted. If you want to make them straight up, that's not a problem. They just need to be tall so they don't look like 11s. B is parallel to A. I also have some angles here that are congruent. we have these here that are congruent. And so I've got V, I've got, let's see, YXW, angle YXW is congruent to VWX. VWX now. Remember that these can be in different orders. Next unit, when we get into triangles being congruent, these orders will matter. A little advertisement for next unit, but right now, if you say WXW, XY, and XWV in a different order, that's not a problem. Remember, as long as the vertex is in the center. Move that, make it a little smaller. All right, I have single arrows on this portion and double arrows on this portion. So that indicates that CB, is parallel to ED. I'm going to move that over and smaller so that I can have room for the next one. And then I have double on this one, so I have CE parallel to BD. Are there any questions about that?
Yeah, do we have to write the little line thingies over top of them?
Oh, I haven't been as consistent as I should. And at the very beginning, I was pretty and that needs to be little arrows, too, because they were lines, correct? But, I hate to say you shouldn't, because when you get to college, they're going to be sticklers on it. So, and you guys are grading your stuff at home, and I'm grading your quizzes and tests, so yes, I should have written it like that. For sure, angles, because we wouldn't know what you're talking about, okay? For sure, angles. Because eventually, you're going to have an angle YXW and triangle YXW, and so somebody could have just said, well, there's 3 of them there, we know it can't be a line. Actually, that's not true, because we could have had, a line with 3 points on it. So we have to show it angle or triangle or whatever. Okay.
Because we'll get to triangles someday.
Yes, next chapter actually.
Wait, what?
Yes.
I'm not ready for that yet.
All right, here we go. This is advice. You can look at this one if you'd like. It's not required. I'm going to have you see this right here. So you can look at this or just look it up my paper. You have several of these and you've been doing these, okay? I am suggesting that you do this left side first if you haven't already been doing that. This is I'm walking you through the thought process that you should be doing, and then once you do this part, you pretty much just transfer what you did on the left side over to the right side. If you haven't been doing that, if you've been just trying to do this whole proof all by yourself, it's really hard. Do the plan for the proof first, and then it'll be easier for you, okay? So I'm going to reiterate to do the plan on the left-hand side first. Questions? All right. This is what we talked about today. You transferred that vocabulary. You knew what a corresponding angle was. You knew what a same side interior. You knew about alternate exterior, alternate interior, but now you know that there are relationships between those angles. There are 2 types of relationships. They're either going to be congruent or they're going to equal 180. All right, they're going to be, or supplementary, okay? I want you to look at, really quick before we go on, I want you to look at all those postulates. We had read 4 of them as we went around. The same wording was on the beginning of all of them. If what?
If 2 parallel lines are
Cut by a transversal. That every single one of them said, if 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then